A big issue at the town hall was whether Donald Trump would do anything about January 6th. In particular, whether he would pardon some of the so-called rioters, some of the protesters, the people who have been convicted of crimes, many of them for simple trespassing obstruction offenses. Trump got the question from a member in the audience. Here's what it sounded like.
My question to you is, will you pardon the January 6 rioters who were convicted of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them.
Ooh.
I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But, you know, when you look at Antifa, what they've done to Portland, and if you look at Antifa, look at what they've done to Minneapolis and so many other places. Look at what they did to Seattle and BLM. Many people were killed. These people, I'm not trying to justify anything, but you have two standards of justice in this country, and what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing. And then what they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people. My answer is, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them. You know,
wow.
They did a very, and it'll be very early on. And they're living in hell right now.
So when it comes to pardons,
they're living in hell. And they're policemen, and they're firemen, and they're soldiers, and they're carpenters and electricians, and they're great people. Many of them are just great people.
It's a great answer, and I think it's the right answer. To hold everybody into the same bucket, to say that every single person is an insurrectionist and every single person is a part of a violent mob is just not accurate. But we've seen essentially a blanket application of some of the most stringent, harshest sentencing rules applied towards the J6 defendants. They're singling them out and still prosecuting them years after the whole thing happened. And they're not letting up. They're asking for more money. They're asking for more prosecutors. They want to double down on it. And we just finished with one of the biggest trials, the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial, which I believe is going to be snowballed into another prosecution against Trump. So it makes sense to me that he would review cases on a case-by-case basis. People who were actually violent, who were causing real serious damage, should not be eligible for an immediate pardon, but should be applied. We want the same standards applied to them as everybody else in the country. That's fair. The same standards that the BLMers got, the same standards that Antifa got. No problems with that. That can be acceptable. Problem is that's not what's happening. And so the pardon power can be brought into effect to remedy a prior wrong that was enacted by another agency. You can correct it. That's why we have it. That's why it exists, to correct the wrongs. And so Trump, I think, is well within his right to use it. And I think it's a good political answer. I think an overbroad answer would have been to say everybody gets a pardon, but it's a careful response, and I appreciate it. He also got asked a follow-up question about January 6th, and a big criticism against Trump has been his delayed reaction, so-called. I don't know what they wanted him to do there. It would have been nice if they would have complied with his request to bring in the National Guard and fortify the congressional building before any of this took place, but they declined it. In fact, Mayor Muriel Bowser did the day before, said, don't you dare send the National Guard in to secure the premises. But Trump brought receipts. When they were trying to castigate him for being slow and not caring on January 6th, he reminds them that's not true.
So when they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to...
You mean alongside Ray Epps?
...tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
Get it. Pull it out. Here it is.
So if you look at on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's like that. I hope everybody's on Truth. If you look, January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there.
Yeah, well, they wanted to box him in.
I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth, and I'm staying on Truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. They're We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early.
Mr. President, I looked at the same time.
Yeah, so not good enough. Donald Trump should have done what Clavicle Girl claimed he did and actually take the clavicle of the Secret Service driver and rip the car and drive it over to the Capitol building and stand in front of the West Terrace and rip his chest shirt open and say, "Halt, Proud Boys! No insurrection today!" These people are nuts. I don't know what else they want. They want every single delay, every single minute is Trump's fault, and he should be indicted and arrested immediately for it, even though it was their own security failures that contributed to the catastrophe. Now, another line of questioning came in from Mar-a-Lago, the question about classified documents. Even though Joe Biden has buckets of classified documents stashed around from when he didn't even have legitimate authorization to have them, the question still remains about Trump. And where did the documents come from when they were found at Mar-a-Lago? Here's Ms. Collins.
I was negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely left group of people. Extremely left. And I was negotiating with them. All of a sudden, they raided my house.
Listen to her.
They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like
Joe
you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850 boxes.
But that's
All right. We'll listen to it and then we'll break it down again.
the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return
Are you
them.
ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
You
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're
Gosh.
a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Can you answer why you...
All right, so we'll pick up the answer. He will go through the answer in a minute, but just let's break this down a little bit because there's a lot to unpack here.
Negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely.
Head librarian Deborah Stidel Wall, she was the one who was very agitated when Trump said, "You got a lot of buildings and there's a lot of books in this building." She didn't like that. So NARA, the head librarians,
You don't
Extremely
negotiate
left group
with
of
them.
people.
she said, "You don't negotiate with them." I guess that means they're in charge of the president. They just decide what is. They decide, hey, those are our documents. So if they come and they say, those are part of Trump's presidential records that we are entitled to, those are not Donald Trump's personal records to which he's entitled, they are superior to the president. Okay, this is the same argument that we've been lampooning here for, I don't know, ever since the August 8th, ever since the raid happened at Mar-a-Lago. Telling these people, if that's true, then the National Archives, Deborah Stidel Wall, is more powerful than Donald Trump. Wow, how does that work? And you know why we know that that doesn't work? Because it's logically inconsistent, number one, but they have a hard time reconciling that because to them, anything is power, that they want to be power as long as it hurts Trump. But we have case law that supports this because we had the same judge from the DC Circuit who gave us the ruling over the Clinton sock drawer case. Shout out to Judicial Watch for dragging that one out. In that case, there was a challenge by Judicial Watch that said, we want access to those documents. Those are presidential records. Clinton said, no, those are personal records. And the judge said, who am I to interfere and decide? Do you think I'm more powerful as a judiciary than the president? No, rightfully so. And the president is the head of the executive branch, which is where the National Archives resides. So I get so irritated with this talking point that you don't negotiate with NARA. All of this was being negotiated. They sent negotiators down there, in there, to have a conversation with him, and he accepted them in good faith and popped his head into the room. And then they used that meeting to gain intel about other ways that they could charge him because the whole thing was corrupt. And then he let them go in good faith, and they raided him after the fact. That's negotiating with them, Kaitlin. And this face. Let's continue.
Extremely left. And I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left,
sudden,
they're
they
Yes, they are left. Every federal agency is left. Just look at them.
raided my house. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like you...
No, Joe Biden had them from his Senate career. Why did he have access to those documents? Why did they leave the skiff? He had no reason to have those documents at all. His house should have been raided immediately because there was not even a legitimate claim to them. Trump at least had presidential records. Trump at least had other privileges that he could pull out of his back pocket and use. Joe Biden didn't have any. So the FBI, as soon as they knew that that happened, there was probable cause that a crime had been committed right there. Why didn't they raid his other properties? Why didn't they go raid the home of Hunter Biden But the FBI has also been knowledgeable about his criminality, given the fact that they had the Hunter Biden laptop since 2019, in addition to the fact they had gun charges that they were contemplating. All of it was known. So Trump once again is being singled out. But these talking points, they just drop them like very quickly. And they're pretty good at just spitting them out because they've got teleprompters and things. And we'll listen to Jake Tapper, who's going to do the same thing. Somebody's typing all of these Trump bullet points into a teleprompter for Jake. We'll get there in a minute.
And so that's the question. But
that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you...
All right, so that's the first part of it. Let's pick this up for the actual answer, the explanation in part 2.
To get those documents back like you did. And so that's the question.
$1,850.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating, and we were talking to NARA, that's Washington, to bring whatever they want. They can have whatever they want. When we left Washington, we had the boxes lined up on the sidewalk outside for everybody. People are taking pictures of them. Everybody knew we were taking those boxes. And the GSA, the government service, the GSA was the one taking them. They brought them down to Mar-a-Lago. We were negotiating with NARA. All of a sudden, they raid our house.
Right.
When Biden had his documents, he won't give back the 1,850 boxes. And you're going to find some real gems in there.
But it was
From his
Biden
Senate.
who
Can't have
alerted
all
them that
these
he
different
had the
sets of-
documents.
all
The
these
National
different
Archives
sets of-
reached out to you to get your documents back. Why did you not turn them over when you got a subpoena?
Because
You don't want to talk about the Biden docs. Yeah, don't want to talk about the Biden docs. We have a pretty good sneaking suspicion here what happened with the National Archives and the FBI. They were just essentially setting it up. They knew when they went down there that they were going to be looking around. They had a mole at Mar-a-Lago who was reporting on the skiff and all the different things, and they just jumped right into it. But now that Joe Biden has been alleged and been investigated with the same violations and the same special counsel, his explanation is so innocent, even though it's less legitimate from the very get-go. He was a senator, Trump was the president. So nasty person indeed. But Trump was asked about Ukraine and Russia. Here's what he said.
absolutely
Do you want
over.
Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
She didn't like that answer.
Can I just follow up on that? You
But
said
one
you
of the
don't
things
think in
you have
terms
to
of
do is
winning
you have
and
to get
losing.
the- you have
Mr.
to get
President, can I
Europe-
just follow up on that because that's a really important
excuse me,
statement
let me
that
just
you just
follow
made
up.
there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the
24
power of
hours,
the
baby.
presidency to do it.
But you won't say that you want Ukraine to win.
You
said
know what
when
I'll
you were
say?
in-
I'll
when you
say
were in
this.
office-
I want Europe to put up more money because they're in for 20 billion. We're in for 170, and
that's
they
not
should
an
be.
answer about who
And
should
they
win
should
the war.
equalize. They have plenty of money. They should equalize. I got with NATO.
But I'm
when I
asking you
sat down,
about
I got
Ukraine
them
right
to
now,
put up
Mr.
hundreds
President.
of.
Not going to answer that question. She really wants him to pin him down in a particular direction, and he's just not going to do it. She kept digging, and here's what Trump said in follow-up.
What do you? Can I just follow up on that? You said or Russia to win this war.
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the power of the presidency.
Will you put
to
a
do
pin
it.
But you
on-
won't say that you want Ukraine to win.
Where's
You
your
know what
pin?
I'll say? I'll say this. I want Europe to put up more money because they're in for 20 billion. We're in for 170, and
that's
they
not
should
an
be.
answer about who
And
should
they
win
should
the war.
equalize. They have plenty of money. They should equalize. I got with NATO.
But I'm
when I
asking you
sat
about
down, I got
Ukraine
them
right
to
now,
put up
Mr.
hundreds
President.
of billions of dollars that they weren't paying under Obama and Bush and all of these other presidents. That's why they're able to help them fight the war because of the money I got. But I
let's
want
talk about
Europe.
what's happening in
Excuse
Ukraine,
me.
Mr.
I want
President.
Europe to put up more money because they're laughing at us. They think we're a bunch of jerks. We're spending $170 billion for faraway land, and they're right next door to that land, and they're in for 20. I don't think so.
When it comes to what's
Couldn't even get $5 billion for a wall here in the United States. And so she really wants him to make that Ukraine pin front and center. Did you change your profile picture to a Ukraine flag, Trump? Just relax, okay? We're not doing your stupid game here with that stuff. No war. Stop with the dying. Stop playing this game like it's like a COVID scoreboard again. Nonsense. Good answers from Donald Trump during the town hall. Very important topics, and he's making the most sense of anyone we're hearing right now.